Okay, I want to welcome everyone to the Silent Threat Cybersecurity Risks for Small Businesses. We have James Elliman from Elliman Tech with us today. We also have David Bennett from Middlesex Savings Bank. They are sponsoring this presentation today, and we'll let him explain why he picked this topic here shortly. But as we get started, I do want to make sure that you are taking advantage of all the things that SCORE has to offer. As you may know, our goal is to share small business information with you. We do that in several different ways. One is through our website, score.org. There's podcasts, blogs, recordings of past webinars, um, articles, templates you can download, from marketing templates to financial templates to business plan templates for your use. The other way we educate people is through our workshops and webinars. We do advertise those through social media, our newsletter, and on our website as well. I think the most important way that we educate folks in the small business world is through our mentoring. Our mentoring is free. Our mentors are volunteers. They have a wide variety of experiences and skill sets that they can share with you. We work with folks that are at every stage. If you're trying to decide if you should go into start your own business, if you're in the planning phase, if you're in business, growing that business, or exiting that business, we work with everyone. If you've never had a mentor before, a beginning session would probably run around 45 minutes-ish, depending. They want to know about you, what your goals are, what your challenges are, and they're going to work with you to come up with a plan so that you can be successful. It's not uncommon as you progress through the different stages of your business that different mentors will be invited with different skill sets to make sure that you're getting a well-rounded education and all the information that you need. So mentors or clients that have been with us for a while often have a team of mentors that they can work with to help them at any moment. So the next obvious question is going to be, how do I get that mentor? Very, very easy. There's multiple ways on the website. I think probably the easiest way is to look for that. Let us do the matching for you. You just put your zip code in. That will match you to the chapter that's nearest you. A form will pop up. There's a couple really quick contact information questions. We also want to know what your business is and how a mentor can help you right now. That allows us to match the mentor that's most appropriate to your situation in the moment. So I do like to use Q&A. It does make it easier to keep track of any questions. We'll definitely get through as many questions as possible today. We are recording, and that recording will be posted on our website in 24 to 48 hours. You can see from the graphic, you can find it at the score.org/Boston website. It'll be under the local workshops pull down, previously recorded webinar. So we do, like I said, have a sponsor today, and that's Middlesex Savings Bank, and we have David Bennett with us today as our representative. I'm going to give him a few moments to introduce himself, and we'll move from there.
All right. Well, thank you, Teresa, and good afternoon, everyone. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join today's webinar. On behalf of the bank, we're delighted to be today's sponsor. For those of you who may not know, Middlesex Savings Bank is the largest independent bank in Massachusetts. And by independent, I mean we're a mutual savings bank, founded in 1835 with no shareholders. And this is an advantage that allows us to take the long view and focus on our customers and the community while not having to answer to stockholders. Now, business owners like yourselves, they come to Middlesex to help solve their challenges of cash flow, funding of growth, and investment in people, equipment, and processes. They also want to partner someone that works with businesses just like theirs. So in other words, it's one community business working with another. And our bankers will take the time to understand these issues, work with you to help solve them, and then be part of your team as you grow. Now, today's webinar on cybersecurity can't be more timely. Fraud is rampant, and every business must be prepared in the event of an attack and work hard at preventing breaches as much as possible. And SCORE is the perfect partner to assist on this journey. As a longtime supporter of SCORE, they're one of our go-to organizations that has a long track record with helping businesses plan to succeed. So I hope you enjoyed today's webinar and walk away with some ideas and lessons that you can make your own. Enjoy. I'll turn it over to James.
Thanks, David. James, it's all yours.
Absolutely. Let me get my screen share going. Hopefully it quickly here. Come on.
Great, we can see it.
Awesome. We'll pop into here. And so here we go, the silent threat. And I love to call it that because, well, you never know when you're being hacked until it's too late. So who am I? Why should I be speaking to you? Well, my name's James. I'm the founder of Elliman Technologies. I love of computers. I went to Ohio Wesleyan and studied computer science. And before my whole techie experience, I worked in the maritime industry, doing towing, safety and rescue, and passenger service on, in this case, Coast Guard or inspected vessels. Also, I really like the analytical side of things and kind of fixing things. And my first step into the tech world as a profession was I was an engineer for a telecommunications company. And I got to see a lot of what the big companies do and how they're not as transparent with smaller or organizations. And so that was kind of my goal with starting Element Technologies is how do I help small business? So we're going to take a look at risks overall for a small business, dive into some different and threats that a small business would experience and such as ransomware and phishing, and how some of those best practices, such as addressing password authentication and building a good strategy to protect your business. So, cybersecurity and what are the risks for a small business? Well, small business is can't get around cybersecurity anymore, or it's important into the survival and thriving of your business as you become less valuable to online threats by learning about the risks and taking steps to protect yourself. We'll go into detail more about these main threats for small businesses face, the effects, and what they can do to protect themselves. If you think about it this way, hey, there are over 2,000 in cybersecurity incidents that happen every day. Hey, and a majority of them happen in small businesses, is almost 43%. And so because they have those limited resources to protect themselves, it can be a challenge. But cybersecurity doesn't have to be complicated. There's a few simple items that you can do to protect yourself. And hackers assume that at cybersecurity or small businesses have less cybersecurity, and usually they do because they're not as prepared as a bigger organization that has a full suite of teams working on that. So, what are the impacts on cybersecurity? The biggest one is financial loss and downtime and recovery costs. It can be extremely expensive to handle. Well, not only the downtime, but cost for recovery. It can be hundreds of thousands of dollars in putting backups back together or replacing systems, but also the financial loss of operationally. Are you able to work with your customers and provide them that experience? Do they lose trust in you because they don't want to spend money on a company that may have lost or released their data? And then there's legal consequences as well. Oh, if you have a data breach and release someone's information that goes on the dark web, and then they have their identity stolen, that can be a legal risk. It's for your business as well. So the average cost of a cyber attack is about at $120,000 to 1.24 million. And then this financial strain can really bankrupt a lot of small businesses. Just think about it. Do you have over $1 million in the bank and to deal with an incident like this, and do your customers trust you after an incident like this were to happen? Cybersecurity risks for small businesses include phishing, attacks, ransomware or threats from employees inside the company, and weak passwords. These risks are often made worse by small businesses is not aware of them or taking effective measures to protect themselves. Also, knowing about these risks is the first step up in really securing your business. So let's take a look into phishing. Phishing is probably the most common way that hackers get private information. And they do this through emails, text messages, voicemails to really trick employees and small business owners into giving them some piece of information. That first breadcrumb is really important because once they know that who the CEO is or who the decision maker is that has access to bank accounts or access to secure systems or important information, and that's really what they need to make that next step, and it's just one step at a time. I'm I'm phishing emails are really all about finding the next piece of information, and they're usually very urgent messages. A lot of times have poor grammar, or if you ever see a lot of the same markers, or this Chat GPT, that is a lot of hackers are using that AI generation now. Well, unusual sender names, if you ever get a questionable email, I'll take a look at the sender or make sure or they're actually sending it from on the email address that you expect. Look for suspicious links or requests for sensitive information. That all goes back to they're looking for that first piece of information that they can and use to talk to another employee and then another employee or someone else outside the organization to finally get to their final target. Ransomware. Now, this is usually the one that scares people the most because is there's a lot of unknowns with it. There's a lot of really scary things, but ransomware attacks can really cripple a business by encrypting their data, demanding a ransom for its release, and these attacks often spread through phishing emails, unsecure networks, and which is why network security and employee awareness are so important. Prevention is far cheaper than recovery and really makes those proactive measures essential for small business. And it's a $5 database data backup system a month can save you literally millions of dollars in recovery costs because you can just download that information and back onto your computer or after it's been cleaned instead of having to send it off to data recovery experts. So doing a lot of really simple things can really help you as a business. And so, how do you prevent ransomware? The first one's backups because not every provider or or re- incident and management and solution, and whether you go through an IT provider that specializes in ransomware or cyber incidents or your local IT company. They don't always have the tools to unencrypt encrypted data. So once ransomware does happen, and it may be either the problem that they can't recover that data. And so what do you do? Well, you have to either pay it and hope that the criminal will give you back that information, and or you have to rely on your backups. So that's why backups are one of the most critical things. And following that, it's really implementing robust network security because if these hackers can get to those systems, they can and make changes, and then that's how they get in. And so, think about it as your castle. Well, if you keep people outside the moat, you don't have to worry about the walls. Well, if they get past the moat and they're attacking the walls, then you have to worry about the doors, or so on and so forth. Or the more layers that you can put between yourself and the bad actors, the better off you are. And always avoid suspicious emails and attachments. Insider threats. This is something that's really come a long way and been a bigger problem in small businesses. It is an insider threats are significant risk for small businesses as it's the employees themselves. Those can accidentally or intentionally compromise the system. Think about if one of your entry level employees is able to click on an email, that may be the beginnings of a data breach. because once they're infected on one system, they can move around throughout the network, and especially once you add in weak passwords and other policy or lack of policies, it really becomes a challenge for everyone to work together. So how do we deal with this? Well, we can first is make sure you're hiring employees that you trust. If you don't have a trust with an employee, then how can you trust them to help you protect your systems and protect your business, especially in small businesses? Is implementing role-based access controls. So not the intern that you just hired doesn't have access to every single piece of information you have in your business. They have what they need and nothing more. Or, and monitor our employees for suspicious activity. This is something that your IT provider will usually handle for you through a vast number of tools. And they'll say, hey, why is this employee changing thousands of files at one time? Well, that's usually the start of a cyber threat. So making sure you implement the right policies, using procedures with your employees so they're accessing just the information that they need it, and knowing when to click on an email and when not to click on a link is really important. Weak passwords. Now, this is a huge problem in small businesses, is because let's face it, every time you add an account, you usually have to endure a licensing cost. And that can be a real deal breaker for a lot of small businesses. But unfortunately, on the flip side, sharing those passwords brings its own set of challenges, is such as hackers can also get access to those weak passwords. I can't tell you how many times I see a password that is 14 North Street because the building's on North Street. And they're like, yeah, this is super secure. I'm like, unfortunately, it's not anymore, especially with all the data breaches out there, or your passwords are probably out there somewhere. It's just a matter of someone being able to match it up with the right website. And so, weak passwords and poor authentication practices are the common vulnerability in small businesses. Using those simple passwords really make it easy for those hackers to gain unauthorized access. And so, using something like a strong password or password managers and multi-factor authentication will really help your business is enjoy those security features. Password management. Now, if you haven't ever used it, your cell phone is one of the best password managers you have. And I'm not talking about those notepads where you put every password. There are apps on your phone that are free, and it's a super easy way to maintain your password, and they'll generate nice strong passwords, store multi-factor authentication codes, and use and have all of those tools at your fingertips, easy to access, as without all the complexity. So, when you think about this, strong passwords are those big, long sets of numbers, and letters, and usually special characters as well. Well, implementing that multi-factor authentication, whether it's through text message codes, email links, or the rotating codes that happen on your phone, well, those are all as a secondary security measure or to help you protect your business. And regularly update and rotate passwords. I know a lot of softwares now force you to update your password every 90, 180 days, even some are yearly. But if you don't notice that an application is asking you to rotate your password, or at least yearly, that's a good practice to get into. And it's again, and it's all about making sure or making cybersecurity as difficult as possible. Well, nothing in cybersecurity is 100%, unfortunately. But making it as inconvenient as possible and making as many steps as possible can really discourage a lot of bad actors. So what are some best practices for your business? Back up your data frequently. Eh, eh, There, there's nothing more important than really backing up your data, because if you do have an incident, and that's the first place you're going to look to get your systems back up and running, and at a minimum, so you can continue to operate as a business and put your best foot forward towards your clients. Using firewalls, antivirus software, or these are kind of the next biggest step up. Those Comcast modems are great, but they don't provide a lot of the flexibility for like guest networks and other resources that real commercial firewalls provide for a small business, and using things like antivirus software hugely important, and they are going to really help you with protecting against viruses is ransomware. But a lot of them now use so much AI and other technology that they'll detect even changes is within your system that may be the beginnings of a much larger cyber attack. Regularly update your softwares and systems. It is a huge thing. And software companies out there today are spending billions of dollars or is updating their software every time that they find out, oh, there is a security flaw. They are putting the effort into their software or to really protect the business. And train your employees on security awareness as well. If your employees don't know how to protect you as a business, then you can't expect them to. Just like if you hire someone to do accounting and they don't know how to do something, and you can't just expect them to just do it. You need to kind of guide them through it. And implement and strong password policies is a multi-factor authentication. So how do you build an effective cybersecurity strategy? So it all starts with, in my opinion, an incident response plan. And make sure that if you are in a cybersecurity incident, you have a plan and to deal with that. How do you deal with customer or relations? Who is the chain of command and who do you trust? As if someone gets into your Microsoft Teams organization or your Slack channel, and starts talking, and how do you know that that's the right person? And especially as we've gone more and more remote and operate via email and instant messaging, and it becomes harder and harder to trust those messages because someone can log in on someone else's behalf. Uh, if we also have of cloud security, we've moved a lot of infrastructure or out of the office and into the cloud. And the cloud is nothing more than just other people's servers. And so your information is not being held within your organization where you can protect it. It's held with thousands of other clients and servers in data centers. And so, you need to have a plan in place for that. And if that software were to go down or that data center were to get hit, well, how do you continue to run your business? Is network security. I can't tell you how many times I walk into a small business and the guest network is the same network that's connected to all the accounting computers. And so with simply logging in on a cell phone, you can see all these computers and a lot of data that's on them. And so making sure that you can't see your or accounting or business network or for the guests that walk into your business is a huge thing. And role base is often access control is the same concept as but that's on the device level. Well, making sure that a user doesn't have access to more information than they need to really protect you as a business. And lastly, a cybersecurity insurance policy is really gonna make you ooh, feel whole if you do have an incident because it'll cover things such as lost business revenue, recovery costs, legal costs, also a lot of other things that and costs that you might not plan and as you go. So the essentials to network security are having firewalls that can block unauthorized access, this antivirus that detects malware there, and doing regular audits for vulnerabilities. This is something that uh, has really changed in the IT world. Is we used to do a lot of set and forget. And I know that that's something that a lot of small business owners really love of is they set something up and then they don't have to touch it again. And a lot of automations like that. But in the security realm, well, we really have to take a look at auditing systems, looking for vulnerabilities, and having that conscious effort that this could be a problem. If you think about cybersecurity, just like how you think about someone breaking into your business and stealing your most valuable items, the same concepts in place. It's all about protecting the most important thing, and that's usually your data. Uh, So cloud security consideration and choose a reputable cloud service provider. There are thousands of them out there. And they're really all about, oh, get it. It's a race to the bottom. They're trying to be as cheap as possible, all in a lot of cases, and a vendor that may be cheaper than everyone else is great, but do they have the security and the uptime reliability to really provide you with the great user experience? Make sure you're using encryption and for all your data in your environment, and whether it's on the hard drive itself or in transit. So making sure you have a VPN access or other ways to secure that data. And monitor your cloud environment also for unauthorized access, as especially when you can't control every aspect of your cloud environment because it's in someone else's data center. You need to make sure or that you're keeping an eye out for someone that may be getting access. Role-based access control. So eliminating access based on job roles, and again, and those entry level positions are usually the worst about this, is because they have access. They can. It's very easy to give them access to more than they need. You really want to give access to people as limitedly as possible. And review it as well. It's very easy to say, oh, 6 months ago, or a year ago, someone needed access as to something to complete a task. Well, do they still need access to it? If not, then it's an opportunity to remove that access. As monitor or third-party vendor access for sensitive information as well. Well, especially if you're a company that works with a lot of contractors, it's very easy to forget that those contractors have access to your information. And developing an incident response plan. And this is huge, huge in so many ways because as cybersecurity is never 100%. And so protecting your business is when it does happen, it's not, and it will never happen. It's a when it happens in situation. And so you need to first identify a threats, and understand and a chain of command and and conduct kind of a situational awareness to it. You can't just trust that everyone will just jump into play. You don't know if Sam from the sales team is actually Sam from the sales team, and you don't know if anyone is who they are, especially in a lot of these remote and work from home environments. And so, making sure you have a chain of command in place is identify threats. That's maybe you know that Sam's email was breached, and you can work backwards off of that. And conducting simulations like this and updating your protocols. I know a lot of companies now once a year, or they'll say, oh, we have this data breach, and they'll kind of run through a walkthrough with their client, with their staff, for or a 20-minute exercise and understand, okay, cool, who do we trust? How do we know we can trust that? Because it's all about protecting the business. Cybersecurity insurance is more of a safety net. It can help with financial losses from cyber attacks. It can help with recovery costs, plus legal fees, and customer notifications. And it reduces that financial burden on small businesses, especially a post breach. Each when you look at when you look at the aftermath of a lot of these incidents, the financial loss is one of the biggest is impacts. It's because you lose the operational side, you lose payroll, all costs, us, and then there's all the recovery fees that can really build on top of that. So cybersecurity for remote employees. He's a lot of employees and employers require VPN access as for remote connections, and that is a hugely great way to encourage your safety in your cybersecurity. You can't trust the home networks of your staff anymore. Or with the number of IoT devices from smart light switches to smart coffee makers and everything else, well, what if the light switch gets hacked? Well, then that light switch is a great access point to that employee's laptop, who then has access to your network. And it's a constant game of these hackers are trying to get from one piece to the next, to the next. And eventually they'll find something. It's just as how many steps are in the way and how many barriers to entry are there. So implementing security policy is for all remote devices and regularly updating these policies to make sure or you're protecting yourself is important. So what's the future challenges in cybersecurity? The increased use of IoT devices is really creates an entry for hackers is because we don't have of the access that we used to when it was just a few laptops and desktops. That was IT years ago. Oh, now with every smart switch and coffee maker and fridge and ovens and everything else, all these devices is can be hacked. And when they do, it's just the first entry point into a bigger problem. You look at a lot of the more modern hacks today, in cybersecurity incidents like Target, and they were hacked through a small all infected credit card device. One credit card infected credit card swiper was able to then spread through the entire Target network and ended up costing I think it was almost $1 billion, all because of one device, one credit card swiper or that got infected because it was swapped out and there wasn't great auditing and there wasn't and great role access was able to migrate its way and be an entry point for these hackers to get through the entire target system. Um, AI power has both been a blessing and a curse for the cybersecurity industry because as you look at how ChatGPT and all of these other or AI platforms are able to generate these very realistic things they can it's hard to distinguish them for a phishing email. But at the same time, and we've really used AI to grow from an incident response platform for antivirus and EDR or ransomware detection, and then all of these other tools on the background have really embraced AI. So it's great in both. It's good and bad at the same time. And the growing volume of data breach is really a concern as well. Year over year, we see at least 50 to 100% growth for the almost a decade now, and it's not going to stop. Everyone knows that data is the most profitable thing out there, or you and I want it as well, all for marketing and business decision, but the hackers want it as well. Because they can access as bank information and they can get leads for of other or businesses to attack and everything else, or they can just sell all the data on the World Wide Web. So to protect your business, you really want to focus on awareness and that prevention and is the first step. Investing in employee training and robust security measures is essential as it's regularly reviewing and updating those strategies to stay ahead of the evolving threats. That's by taking proactive measures, your small business can and really beat the odds and significantly reduce the vulnerabilities of cyber attacks. Thank you so much. I know, do we have any questions?
We do have a couple great questions. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So regarding the use of employee monitoring,
Hmm.
what are the potential legal ramifications involved with monitoring employee usage? How do you recommend addressing users who raise concern about user privacy?
So, it depends on what platform you're looking at for employee monitoring. And there's a lot of log-based employee monitoring that's just looking at was this file altered, or are they doing this? Are they doing that? And that is more of a cybersecurity side, right? And then you can look at a lot of the other employee monitoring, which is like screen recording and things like that, which has a lot more legalities to it. When you're looking at it more from an analytical side, right, and the tools that are more analytical and looking at logs and changes and that side of the productivity, whereas a screen recording and, and they're two different realms. So it really depends on where you're looking at that employee monitor. And we from a cybersecurity side really look at it more from on the logs and changes of that sort.
Uh, we keep all of our files on Dropbox. Would you consider this a good security backup solution?
It can be, if configured correctly. A lot of those big cloud providers, whether you look at Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, I have there's a lot of them out there that do provide full backup ups and really hold your data to a certain degree. But also, there's one big flaw with Dropbox is it allows you to use like shared passwords and shared logins, and so you might have shared that login with a contractor or 2 years ago. And Dropbox really doesn't have a great way. None of the platforms really have a great way of protecting you in that sense. And so that comes down to auditing and making sure you're doing that role-based access. So these contractors can only see what they want for a product like Dropbox.
Okay. Uh, the next question is pretty concise. What does this cost? I'm not sure what how all this encompasses, but um,
So that can be a big factor, and IT companies will give you usually there's four big price models out there. Or there is the break fix style where they will come in for hourly rates and make changes and updates and help you build your cybersecurity out. There's per device models which will charge you per device. So for every laptop, workstation, and server, firewall, they'll have a fixed fee pricing. And there's usually a hybrid model out there, which is a mix of workstations and users. And then there's a user-based model, which charges you based upon how many employees you have on your payroll. And so when you do go to talk to an IT company, you understand what their pricing model is because that can and be really important for you as a business is if you're a hotel or a seasonal business that has 400 employees in the summertime and 150 employees in the wintertime. I'm that user price model all may be very different than a buy the device model when you still have the same 160 devices year round.
okay. I was always concerned that if I use a password manager, the company that runs the password manager would get hacked and it will create a bigger issue than keeping passwords in a password book. Is this a valid concern?
Yes, that's a totally valid concern, but the nice part is there are a lot of solutions out there that are different. And what I mean by that is, yes, you can get solutions like Keeper or Password One who do store or your password all in the cloud. And that's where you see that there's multiple news articles about that going in and being an issue. But there are also other products out there such as Bitwarden, and there's probably a dozen apps on your phone that are all have the opportunity to Bitwarden share stores all your private information and on your own server. So you don't have to worry about your passwords being stored in the cloud. They're stored in an encrypted server or in your business. Yes, and a lot of the apps that are on your phone will store that encrypted data on your phone and it will never leave your phone. So it has the same level of privacy as those password books because it's stored within your environment and it's not trusting those bigger companies if they have a data breach to have your passwords exposed.
Okay, I don't have any other questions listed. Wait, any recommended password apps that you like?
I use Bitwarden personally and professionally. Their app is super easy to use, but I know in a lot of business or a lot of people, especially different phones, there are different in apps that work better than others. Um, like I had an old Samsung and when I upgraded my new one on the same in password app that I was using that wasn't Bitwarden, and it did not work. So you do have to play around with it a little bit and find one that works well for your phone.
Can you talk about passkeys?
Yes. In which regard?
I can't say. So if
Okay.
Elliot could give us a little bit more information on what you want to know about passkeys, then we can address that for you. So we can give him a few seconds to answer. So while we're waiting for that, is there something that you're usually asked that no one has asked you today so far?
The password manager one I really love. I'm gonna give a shout out to whoever that was. I can't see the Q&A, so I apologize.
Oh.
Um, but good good job at least considering it. Um, I do get a lot of questions upon email security and what you can do. If you didn't know that most of the big email providers, Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, I know Yahoo who has a new big platform out there, or a lot of them do not provide true spam filtering to the standard that a lot of third-party spam filters do today. And so that's something to really consider or as a business is because phishing is such a huge problem in a business that investing in $1 a month per employee spam filter can really make a big difference.
Okay. Okay, so this we have a breakdown of the question. Can you
Okay.
please talk about passkeys? Many apps want us to use passkeys rather than passwords, and I think that passkeys are stored on the user's phone.
Yes, the multi-factor authentication codes I think is what they're referring to here. Um, Yes. So, storing those multi-factor authentication codes is a great thing because it's going to protect you. I mean, it's another level of security. It's really a great thing. And I know there's a lot of great apps out there that can really help you with that. The Google Authenticator app, the Microsoft Authenticator app. Those are stored or not on your phone, but they're stored encryptedly and they're very easy to transfer, so you don't have to worry about losing them either if you do lose your phone.
Okay. For anyone traveling, states and in Europe, hostels, Airbnb, using Wi-Fi, is a VPN like Proton VPN with kill switch turned on so that it doesn't fail sufficient, or can our laptop still be hacked? If it still can, would installing a secondary VPN or another thing on the laptop prevent those instances?
So using a VPN is a great first step. While it can't protect you from everything, it's going to get you about 90% of the way there. Or on top of that, I would recommend really using a top tier antivirus such as Sentinel One, and I know Norton's new product is pretty great for people in the residential world as well, because I definitely get asked a lot of small business owners need something for or their families. But yes, it's a VPN and a good antivirus will get you pretty far or in cybersecurity protection, especially if you're traveling.
Okay. How do authenticator apps work?
So depending on the style of authentication, it can be through push notifications and keeping in codes or a couple other keys there. But the biggest one that you're probably referring to is those rolling codes, and that is where the provider, or say your Microsoft 365 or your Gmail account, will offer you a math equation. And so every few seconds, the Google servers and your phone are solving that same math equation. And so when you enter in that multi-factor authentication code, because the only way for that math equation to work is if both sides have it correctly. eh, And so that's how that authentication works.
Okay. How to address a situation if you're already been hacked or password stolen? What's the first thing you need to do?
The first thing I would do is make sure or you talk to all your employees and contact your IT provider right away. A talking to all your employees to make sure that they are aware that there is an issue. Ooh, and to not trust us to communications that come in looking for bank information or other private information is hugely important. And then having in your IT provider come in and help scan and clean up devices is to protect them, is going to be the next big step. Following that, it's working with clients to make sure that there's little to no downtime. I mean, you can still provide that same level of customer care, or so you don't have issues afterwards.
Do you have a preference between Avast or McAfee?
I believe they're owned by the same company now, so not really.
Okay.
I believe one just that they're both owned by the same parent company.
Okay.
So I
What
can't
are
speak to the difference anymore.
yeah, I guess not. What are your thoughts on full disk encryption versus an encrypted container?
So, I mean, you can do both because full disk encryption is great because it's providing it at the hardware level. But then and you can put on top of that at every container, especially in the Linux world, if you're a system admin, and protecting in every virtual machine that may have separate tasks is a great way to provide a second level of encryption. And if one's broken, you can add another.
Okay. How do you feel about physical security keys like YubiKeys for deployment to a small business? Is the expense and potential headache worth the security payout?
It depends on the software that you're looking to integrate it with, because there's some really easy ones to that UB keys and those physical keys really work well for. Or VPNs tend to be a very easy deployment for that. But I have seen a lot of more cloud-based solutions, especially I think it's tower scales now. They don't do well with those physical keys, and it's great if you don't have access to phones and everything else, but finding a solution, a multi-factor solution such as those physical keys or your phone, and making sure it integrates really well, with the rest of your technology, because that can lead to a lot of brokenness as later on down the line.
Okay. That was the last question.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't have any more. I think
That's good.
we got through a lot, a lot of great information and a lot of great questions. I want to thank David for sponsoring Middlesex Bank Savings Bank for sponsoring today's presentation. Yeah, I agree. It's a very important topic to keep our small businesses safe. And thanks, James, for and Elliman Technologies for sharing all your knowledge and thank you. All right. We
Mhm.
hope to see you all on a future webinar.